This PowerPoint exercise just talks about general lab safety. And this is going to be dealing with safety not just in a microbiology lab, but indicative of any type of a science lab. Number one, just some things to go over. Common sense. Common sense can be huge in helping to prevent any type of accidents. It won't prevent everything, but just be aware of what you're doing. Be aware of any potential hazards. Don't be goofing around. Just use that common sense. If you do see something that appears to be unsafe, whether you think so or not, just notify your instructor. Let the instructor make the determination as to whether or not it's an unsafe condition. Most of us instructors would rather you point something out to us and have it to be no big deal than to not say anything when we really should have been told. Inform your instructor of any health problems or any health potential issues that you may have. Sometimes, depending on the scheduling of your lab, it may be very long. If, say, someone is diabetic, they may need to take some little breaks and remove themselves from the lab, go have a little snack, get something to drink. If we have someone who is pregnant, we may need to take extra safety precautions there as well. So just let the instructor know of any health problems. That remains between you and the instructor only. So don't worry about, obviously, legally, we do not disclose any of that other information out to anyone else in the class. But it's nice to have on file that we can be made aware of it. Hopefully not, but in case there's some emergency comes up, we can deal with it appropriately. Obviously, children are not allowed in the lab. Other individuals, you may be having someone come meet you that you carpool with. That's fine for them to just stop by if they need to talk with you, but talk outside in the hallway, not in the lab itself. Eating and drinking are not allowed in the lab. That is federal guidelines for any type of lab that you are working in. It's not allowed. It's for your safety. This includes chewing gum. This includes throat lozenges, putting chapstick on. None of that is allowed. It's for your safety, certainly in any lab, but most definitely in a microbiology lab. You are going to be working with living bacterial cultures. You don't want to take any risk. That being said, if you are eating or drinking prior to entering the lab, the trash must be placed in a trash can outside of the lab. It cannot, the waste paper cups or food wrappings, that cannot even go into the trash can inside the lab. You must wear appropriate clothing. Flip-flops, shorts, tank tops are not allowed in the lab. Now, this does not mean you always have to be wearing a lab coat. However, what once again federal law stipulates is that there is to be no sleeveless shirts. Your shoulders must be covered. When you are sitting down, if you are wearing a skirt, a dress, or shorts, when you are seated, your knees must be covered. Once again, this is for your safety. You must wear closed-toe shoes. Once again, it's for your safety. I always tell students, you know what, for an hour and a half or 3 hours, depending on your lab, you can put on a pair of tennis shoes, you can put on a pair of sweatshirts, throw a hoodie or a sweater or something for the time that you're going to be in the lab. Like I say, lab coats are not required for our lab. For microbiology, what I recommend, because lab coats can be expensive, just get an oversized t-shirt and throw that over, wear it over your existing clothes to help protect it, because you'll be doing a lot of staining procedures and techniques. So to prevent your clothes from maybe getting some blue dye on it or red dye or something, is to just get an extra large t-shirt and wear that over your regular clothes. You want to keep your work area as clear as possible with only the materials that you need for that particular lab. So that means keep your backpacks, your purses, your coats, your jackets, keep them away from your actual working area in the lab. A lot of instructors prefer that you not have your cell phones out. it depends on the lab that you're doing. Personally, I do allow students to use their cell phone to take pictures. If you're looking at something in the microscope and you want to take, oh, that's really cool, let me take a picture of that to share, that's fine. Oftentimes students want to take pictures of their samples so they can include that in a written lab report. That is fine. Just be careful of what you are doing in the lab and the location of your cell phone. In other words, you do not want to be spilling things on your cell phones. Be familiar with all safety equipment in the lab and the location of that. Be aware of where the sinks are, the eye wash station, the fire extinguisher, first aid kit, and telephone. Keep your work area clean. When you are done, wipe your work area and clean it. Leave it, hopefully, the way you found it, nice and clean. Always wash your hands before you leave the lab. There are certain ways that we must dispose of waste products. This is according, once again, to federal regulations. So we have regular trash cans. That's where you're going to put paper, your paper towels, your gloves, things like that. There are orange biohazard containers. This is where you will put, depending on the type of lab you're in, preserved materials. In our microbiology labs, this is where we're going to put the Petri dishes when you're done with them. They've been inoculated, so they're contaminated. It must go in that orange biohazard container. However, if you're working with something that's contaminated, but it's sharp, like a microscope slide, you did a smear of bacteria on it, because it's sharp, it goes into the red sharp container. Then we have a broken glassware container. Accidents happen. You might drop a test tube that has water in it, or you might drop a test tube that has a broth in it that you have not inoculated. So we cannot put broken glassware in the regular trash can. That's a hazard to our custodial staff. And so basically, if you break glassware, it has not been inoculated yet, then broken glassware goes in the broken glassware container. If it has already been contaminated because it's sharp, it would go in the red sharps container. You'll notice that all of the chemicals, if they're considered hazardous chemical, do have this type of a label on it. It is a universal chemical hazard label. They've changed it over the years, but currently it is this diamond-shaped label. You'll notice it is divided into, it's a diamond shape and it's divided into equal parts for smaller diamonds. This blue area over here on this side is what is known as the health hazard. You're going to see a number in here from 0 to 4, 4 is being the most serious. In this case, for health hazard, would be deadly. 0 is just normal material. 1 slightly hazardous, etc. So there'll be a number here. There, up here in the red diamond shape, this is fire hazard. Once again, 0 is being the safest, 4 being the most hazardous. The yellow down here talks about the instability of that particular chemical. 0 being that it's very stable, 4 the most serious, where it could detonate. And then down in the white area, there is additional specific hazard where they use abbreviations, whether it's an acid, maybe it's a base or alkaline, maybe it's corrosive, maybe it cannot be mixed with water. And so this is just a universal way it's used globally for indicating the hazard of whatever the material is that you are working with.